Ep21. Welcome to a special episode of No Touch Screens. It's episode 21, by the way. My name is Adeyemi Adesoya. As always, I'm joined by Superman Tio Eze. Tio, how are you today?
Quite well, Yemi. Good to be here again.
And of course, I said it's a special episode because we're joined by international football commentator. We're joined by royalty, by the way. None other than a good friend of mine over the last few years and someone that I've followed since the 90s with Eurosport and the likes. Tim Capo joins us to show us, share his wealth of experience and knowledge. So, Tim, welcome to No Touchscreens.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you.
So, as we're done with the introductions, Premier League season is upon us. Team says he's looking forward to it, believes it's going to be a very, very good season. So, Tim, let me go to one of the major controversies from last season, and it had to do with VAR. What's your take for VAR as a whole? Are you for or against?
No, I like it. I think it's a benefit. Overall, the positives outweigh the negatives. There was never going to be a 100% success. During the course of the first season, there were always going to be issues and teething issues. So they're over the first season. I still think it was a success overall. I think it will be better this season. And for me, it benefits the game.
Tio, what about you? Are you for or against?
I like one key point Tim mentioned there while talking about VAR in England. It's the first season, and that's a key factor. So I think we can only get better now that we are moving on to another season of trying VAR. So it's beyond the pilot stage for VAR. There were a few good things, or rather a lot of good things, but then it didn't eliminate the controversies, as it were. And we're hoping that some of those will be cut down this particular season and beyond, hopefully.
Okay, so let's go very quickly to the promoted sides. Last season, we had Sheffield United, Norwich, and Aston Villa join the Premier League to good effect for Villa and Sheffield United, especially, who ruffled a lot of feathers and almost finished in the Europa League place. Villa survived relegation on the last day, but unfortunately, Norwich City, went down. Now we have Leeds United coming back after so long, West Bromwich Albion also joining, and Fulham winning and coming via the playoffs. What can we expect from the newly promoted sides, Tio?
Okay, I'm particularly looking forward to the Leeds United side. That's, of course, because of the famed Marcelo Bielsa. If you followed him enough, you remember him from his time with the Argentine national team, the Olympic team, and a few other club sides that he has managed in Europe. And that particular failed transfer that happened with Lazio, that's the notable one for us that follow Italian football, where he was supposed to join them and then changed his mind after landing for the contract, as it were, and all that. And more importantly for us is the football we saw, the transformation we saw with Leeds United in the Championship last season. They were a joy to watch. I think they had the joint most goals. Yes, they did have the joint most goals with West Brom, the other promoted side. So they can score goals. That's the key thing that we saw from the Bielsa side. And the transition in how they play their football is something the Premier League will be excited about. And who wouldn't want to see a traditional big British Premier League team back in the league? And that's Leeds United and Elland Road. Again, as a stadium that people would love to be in to watch Leeds. So on that front, Leeds is the one I'm excited the most to see in the division. The other one, of course, will be Bilic. We like Bilic. That's his West Brom side that is bringing back to the Premier League. They puffed and puffed a bit, particularly towards the end of the last season with the Championship. They struggled a bit. Maybe the pressure of course, getting so close to promotion got to them, as it were. Or maybe, of course, the break. We know it was a strange season for everybody, and all sorts of things happened with the breaks for most teams, and they were one of those who didn't come back strong as they were before the break happened. So we expect good football from them. We saw his West Ham sign before things went south, particularly with the Payet sales at some point. Before then, they were an exciting side to watch, and I expect the same level of excitement from this West Brom side. They brought back Diangana and retained most of the guys who helped them with the promotion. The Brazilian Pereira, the youngster, the attacking midfielder is back with the side. So I think it will be quite exciting to watch, and they will be able to pick or get some scraps against some of the more established teams in the league. Fulham is the one I'm not as excited for in the Premier League, but that doesn't mean that their chances are any worse than the other two I mentioned. They work hard, of course, epitomized by the man who is in charge of the side, a legend of the game, a legend of Fulham themselves. And you expect them to also put in the works, particularly. They may be the Sheffield of this season, you never know. They are not the most fancied of the three promoted sides. People barely talk about them, just like many tipped Sheffield to go back to the other side because they thought they were a bit too ancient, as it were, in their approach to football, and that's maybe what we'll also get from Fulham. The hard work seems to pay off, as Sheffield so showed us, and if Fulham comes with that level of intensity, who knows, we might be surprised, but for sure the three of them will give us quite a lot to be excited about this season.
All right, Tim, in the three teams that we mentioned that got promoted, which out of the three, which one can we pick out as a potential Sheffield United or Wolves?
I think it would be a struggle to get any one of those three teams to emulate what those two did in the first season back in the division. As far as Leeds United are concerned, it is fabulous to have them back. Now, you may not like Leeds United, you may not be a Leeds fan, but it's what they bring. You're going to want to see them play Manchester United. You're going to want to see them play Liverpool. You're going to want to see them play Chelsea. They're top games. Leeds against Liverpool, the opening day of the season. What a great fixture that is for Bielsa on his first day. But you're looking at the early season fixtures for them. They got Fulham after the EFL Cup where they're playing Hull. They're playing Fulham, Sheffield United. So those first three fixtures, I think they might do something on the opening day. I think they might steal a point. You know, they'll be so up for this game. The adrenaline will be pumping. You know, it will be a huge occasion. Fulham and Sheffield United, those are the type of games they're going to need to be taking points off of. They're going to need to beat the likes of Fulham. If you look at the squad, and who he's brought in, as he said, they have got the youngest squad here, by the way.
Yeah.
The only team in the division in the Premier League whose average age is under 25. Some of the players that they've brought in, the likelihood they're going to be making an impression. Rodrigo from Valencia, of course, they're having a fire sale. He didn't get on too well the last time he was over in the Premier League. He came on loan back in 2010, 2011. Obviously a much younger player then. He's spent a bit of time with Bolton Wanderers. He is a forward player, but he's going to need to be doing and scoring a lot more goals than he has been doing for Valencia in the past two seasons. Only 4 goals there last season, 8 the year before. Only twice he's managed to break into double figures. So they spent a lot of money on him, and it's a bit of a gamble. They took Helder Costa. They've still got him there for this season, so that's a bit of good news there. The goals are going to be the key issue. You know, you're looking at some of the other players that they brought in. They've got the youngster Charlie Allen. They've just brought in another one for the future. I know that he is, well, they're expecting good things of him in years to come, but you know, they need people that are going to be delivering now. They've done the same with Sam Greenwood, another 18-year-old that they've taken on from Arsenal. So the majority is the squad that they had. Is it good enough to survive? It probably is good enough to survive. Is it good enough to challenge for the top 7 or 8? No, I don't think it is. Robin Koch is going to be a key player for them. The German defender. I've seen a bit of him over the years playing with Kaiserslautern and Freiburg. Good, solid defender. Is he a top Premier League defender? Well, he's been capped by the German national team 3 times. They picked up on him in the last year. So, you know, he's got potential there. As for who we talked about else, Fulham. Fulham will be able to play the type of expansive football that we know that they like to play. That is for sure. Again, it's not an old squad. It's quite a young squad. I'm looking at their early season fixtures. Again, they've got a tough opener, haven't they? They've got Arsenal at home, followed by Leeds United, Aston Villa, Wolves, and Sheffield United. They'll do well to get anything out of Arsenal, I think, on the opening day. As for the activity in the transfer market, they haven't been too busy, as nobody has been really busy. They bought Anthony Knockout from Brighton. That's quite an interesting deal, isn't it? He was on loan last season. I think he played pretty much most of the games they played. And weighed in with 3 goals. But this is a guy that did break into double figures in a big way with Brighton back in 2016-17. 15 goals. If he can find a bit more form in front of goal, then perhaps they will be benefiting from that. Harrison Reeds, Anthony Robinson, and Kieran Barry from Wraith Rovers, the other. These 3 clubs have got the least valuable squads in the division. The one that you would worry about perhaps the most is West Bromwich Albion. It's going to be very, very difficult. You're going to need, I think, every single bit of the motivational power that Slaven Bilic has got to instill a belief that his team are going to survive in the course of the summer. Again, with the rest of these teams, it's not been a particularly busy summer in terms of players coming in, because there simply isn't the money around, is there? So again, it's the majority of it is the squad that they've been promoted with. They bought the French defender Kipre, haven't they, from Wigan? But you would worry most about their ability to survive. I think if they've got a good enough squad, it's going to be a struggle.
Let's look at the teams that kind of survived last season, and I'm talking Villa, Brighton, like you mentioned, Southampton, who I think are doing some very, very good business to stay up and to stay competitive. What can we expect from a team like Villa, who've just broken their club record transfer to bring in a striker from Brentford? What can we expect from a team like that? Villa, Brighton, Southampton, teams that are just above the relegation zone team. What can we expect from those 3 teams?
Villa survived, didn't they, courtesy of the end of season run of form they put together with.
I thought you were going to talk about the VAR decision. That's why they survived.
Yeah, Crystal Palace, Everton. They drew, didn't they? They beat Arsenal with that Trezeguet goal, and then the draw with West Ham. So that is that type of form they're going to have to carry over. Right, the players that they've brought in, the squad that they've got, is it good enough to improve on last season? Yeah, it is. I think a lot is going to be expected of Dean Smith to get some consistency out of his team. The fact that they've kept the likes of Grealish, on side. I mean, Grealish is now no longer this. You tend to think that he's only 21, 22. He isn't. He's 25 years of age. But it was imperative that they actually kept him. Scott Hogan, the player that they took on loan or signed, who had a spell with Stoke and Birmingham City. I think these are players that might find it a bit of a struggle, don't you, in the Premier League next season or this season coming? Goals are going to be a problem, I think, for them, aren't they? This season, if you look at Ollie Watkins, who had that unbelievable campaign last year, where literally everything that he touched ended up in the back of the net. 25 goals in 46 games. in order to replicate that. This is a guy, remember, who just 3 or 4 seasons ago was playing for Western-super-Mare. I mean, his rise has been pretty meteoric from, the moment he moved to Exeter and then on to Brentford. The big question is, was that a one-off season last season? Because it was unlike anything else that he's ever had before. I think the highest number of goals he'd scored prior to that season was 13 with Exeter City. So, I mean, if he can open his account, get a few goals early on and settle him down, you never know. But playing alongside people like Grealish is going to be a joy for a player like him.
It's important. It's interesting you mentioned Villa's goal scoring problems, and they've tried to address that with the signing of Watkins. But it's interesting to also note that last season, Villa also splashed the cash on 2 strikers, Samata and Wesley, to zero effect as far as I'm concerned. What can we expect from Oli Watkins?
Well, he scored a lot of goals in the Championship last season, and of course, it's entirely different terrain. Talking the Premier League now, for him to come and replicate the same thing. We've seen that happen in past couple of seasons where players who have practically dominated the Championship in terms of goal scoring come to the Premier League and struggle to get on with the same form. And we'll have to wait and see. It's more of a case of wait and see to see what happens with him and with Villa. But then the creativity around him is not in question. Thankfully, they have kept Grealish, which I think is vital to any hopes of survival or having a smoother plan of staying back in the Premier League for another season. And with that, I think he will find the creativity around him to get the chances to score goals. And hopefully they also recover Wesley, who I believe is a good forward. I think the injuries he had early on when he joined was part of what slowed him down. I still believe he can prove to be a reliable goal scorer in the Premier League. He has the skill set to do that. Showed good promise when he joined in, not getting enough goals, of course, but then got into good positions to be able to convert chances, but that didn't happen for him, and then the injuries started coming in, and I think that's what slowed him down more than anything else. And this season, a fresh start again for him. I fancy his chances with Grealish staying in particular, and then the other lads around him, Magin, Oriani, and the other lads in this squad. I trust their ability to create enough chances to score goals, which is vital to remain in the Premier League.
What about the? I'm just going to ask you about the guy that they signed from Brugge, Marvelous Nakamba.
Signed from Genk.
He come from Genk, he come from Brugge. Whatever. He's had. I remember seeing him in the AFCON tournament.
Yes.
Fabulously skillful player. It's going to be really interesting. There's always one player, isn't there, that emerges and people think, oh, who's he? I haven't seen him before. He isn't a goal scorer, let's put it that way, but he is a busy, creative, lively midfield player. And he's going to be interesting if he gets the chance to get in there and do a bit more.
Yeah, but he's also, we just have to wait and see for a team like Villa. Hopefully things kick into gear, once the
early enough for them. Very
early. Able to also have, less injuries, because the loss of Wesley early in the season was a huge downer for them. So hopefully they can sort that out. But let's talk about potential surprise teams this season. Last season, we did have a few surprises. Sheffield United, Wolves, Leicester breaking into the top 6. Team, who should we look at as a potential surprise team this season?
I don't think there is going to be a potential surprise. I think when you look at the business that is being done, some of the strengthening to these squads. If you look at Liverpool, Manchester City, United, Chelsea, Leicester, Tottenham, Wolves, Arsenal, that will be the top 8 all but. For me, I don't see. Maybe Sheffield United might push. Maybe Burnley or Southampton. Ralph Hasenhüttl has done such a good job there. But I don't see any other club than those being in the top 8. I just don't see it at all.
Do you think Sheffield United will have a bout of second season syndrome?
Well, you never know. I mean, Sheffield United only scored 39 goals last season. They were only beaten on 12 occasions in the Premier League in those 38 games. They conceded 39 goals, which is one of the best defenses in the Premier League. The problem was scoring goals. So, you know, unless they address that particular issue, then no, I don't see anybody. But there will be nobody's pushover.
Oh, yes.
Anybody going there expecting an easy ride as well, we know. I mean, I remember watching the game when they were playing Tottenham. I watched it twice last season. I mean, they really were a very well organised, strong, physical, athletic, determined team. Top 10. Yeah, they will finish. And you talked about the surprise team. Maybe out of that top 8, maybe it could be Everton. Maybe.
And you just led me to my next line of question, but I'll throw this to Theo because he's the man that follows Syria judiciously. And Carlo Ancelotti is a manager that I really like. And I really want him to be successful in England coming back, because he also falls into the mold of one of those managers that people have said was potentially finished and all that. So I think they've done really good business with Alan and Doucouré coming in. Yeah, James Rodriguez, we really don't know what to expect because of his injury record. But how good do you think this Everton team will be? I understand they're linked to having Lozano as well now. So how good do you think they'll be this season?
There will be definitely an improvement from the Everton we saw last season. That one is for sure. We should see a better side, but the transfer window we have seen over the years doesn't necessarily translate to success on the pitch. They have signed really interesting players. For me, in particular, Alan. The center of their midfield was rather open for most of last season. Davids, the Portuguese, his name is not coming to me now. They had that struggle to have good steel to protect the center of their defense in particular, and which is, I believe, is their weak points. The Sidibe are right back, and the two French lads, the fullbacks, I think, put in some decent sheets, particularly in going forward and also tracking back. But the center of the defense was where I think they struggled a bit. Holgate, of course, is a growing defender, and Keane need a lot more time to mature into the level of defenders that will be able to, of course, compete against the more established sides. The gap is still there for me with this Everton side. I was hoping, for instance, they get a player in the mode of a Matic who will sit there to build some sort of shield for the center area, which I think is where they are most vulnerable. Because Alan, while he's energetic, is a lot better on the side of the midfield than in the center of the midfield. So he's more of a central midfielder, but more tilted towards the right side. And you can say something similar for Doucouré, who they signed from Watford. So I'll hope for a transfer in the mode of a Matic, someone who just sits there, slower, who will just keep the. I just wish they still have Schneiderlin, who didn't do so well, unfortunately, for his time there. I wish they still have a player in that mode still available now. And this is where I think they need a player like him to sit there and then allow Alan and Doucouré to be the energy around the midfield, help them win the balls, help them push the ball forward quickly, get it to the attacking players who will create the chances. And maybe that will push James towards the support striker role than staying just behind the striker. For me, it will expose them a bit if they play with, as being speculated in most of the media, 4-2-3-1. With Alan and Doucouré as the holding midfielders. They are not traditional holding midfielders. Yes, they bring a lot of energy to the team, but they are not best known for their positional play in terms of sitting and shielding that back line, which I believe is quite necessary for Everton because their defense is not one of the best in Premier League. They will get chances, they will score goals, but I think they will also concede enough to not cause a lot of problems in terms of surprise or breaking into the top 8, as mentioned.
Big season is for James Rodriguez. Really big season. He's 29 years of age. Bayern Munich, when they had him, 2017 to 2019, he was well liked there. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge was talking about the quality of his left foot, his vision, his passing ability, his general play, his persona in and around the club. He liked him. They wanted him, or Rummenigge wanted him to stay. He ended up going back to Real Madrid last year. He had that brief period where he worked his way back into the Real Madrid team, but at the end of the season, it didn't last for 5 minutes. Yeah. He only started 5 games. He appeared 8 times overall during the course of the season. But if you get the same player that was playing at his peak when he was playing for Bayern Munich, and the one who was in his first season at Real Madrid when he left Monaco back in 2013-14, then you got a really, really high quality player. And it could turn out to be a great deal. But again, if things go wrong for Ancelotti and Ancelotti doesn't survive the season, if the team don't go well and whatever, James needs to be loved. He needs to feel as if people want him there. He's the arm around the shoulder. He needs to feel valued. And if he doesn't, you don't get the best out of him. So I'm sure, Ancelotti will know exactly what to do. James has had to lower his expectations. I mean, a year ago, he was saying, me going somewhere that doesn't play Champions League football is just not happening. But he needs to get back because you've got the Copa America, you've got the World Cup finals, and Queiroz has told him that if he isn't playing for his club, if he isn't playing regular club football, then he will not be playing the Colombian national team.
Oh, for a player of that talent and what have you, I really hope he gets a good run of the meal. Even if he gets 10 assists, 5 goals, I think that would be a really decent season for a player of his caliber, and that provides him something to potentially build on for the next 2-3 years of his career. Then they can talk about whether they're extending his contract or what have you. Well, it'll be nice to see how well he does. I'm considering putting him in my fantasy league, though. Probably on the bench. So let's go.
That may be too early, so you may have to just wait and see.
All right, so let me put both of you on the spot now. Which 3 teams do you think will go down? Tio, you first.
That's a serious question, because if I have to put names to it, the teams I don't fancy today, because I don't think they will score enough goals, for me, the first name will be Fulham. The other team, because I don't think they have a guaranteed goal scorer, a go-to man, or someone who can get them double-digit goals guaranteed, even though they had that last season, but he was in and out of the team. That's West Brom. So in my head, I would think the 2 of the 3 promoted sides are very likely to go back down to the lower division. Then that now brings me to one of the few that just managed to survive last season. I like the look of what they have done in terms of rebuilding their defense, bringing back Ben White, and the defense looks good, keeping, of course, Donk, the reliable Donk, and adding a few experienced players like Veltman, the Dutchman, to add some competition on the right side. The defense looks good. Ryan is still reliable, but I don't think they have enough goals in them. They're quite organized aside, but if the goals don't come, you drop a lot of points, particularly against peer teams, and that's Brighton. So if I have to put a name on the top team, my money will be on Brighton than Aston Villa, because I think the goal scoring of Aston Villa can be corrected if Wesley stays fit and if Watkins gets firing early on.
Okay, Tim?
Right. Well, I think the two that are going to be struggling, West Bromwich Albion, and I think you're right. Fulham. Outside of those two, it could be anybody. It could be Crystal Palace. It could be West Ham United. Not everything is as it seems there. Although West Ham, when you look at the fact that they did score 49 goals last season, which was a pretty healthy return. What they needed to do was stop shipping the goals in. 62 goals they conceded last season. That is where they need to be doing some work, or Moyes needs to be doing some work. Crystal Palace, one of the lowest scoring teams in the Premier League last season, outside of Norwich, 26 goals Norwich scored. Crystal Palace managed just 31 goals. And that, that is going to be something that needs serious addressing. We know the players that they've got: Jordan Ayew, Benteke, Wilfried Zaha. The transfer window is still open, and there's always question marks about Zaha, whether he's going to go. Yeah, Zaha is now, he's 28 in a couple of months' time. If he settles down, knuckles down, and gets to work with Palace, then he could be a reason that they stay up and have a more comfortable season. But he only scored 4 goals last season in total. Needs to be providing more assists. For me, I think the days of him dreaming that he's going to be going to Manchester United, Arsenal, any of the top clubs, long gone. But I think he is key to any success, and if he does stay, then they will be extremely happy. But I think you can pick any one of that lot. In the same way that you at the top of the table, between outside of the top 3, the next 5, you can shuffle that pack around. And I think it's going to be, it's too difficult to call to say potentially outside of West Bromwich Albion and Fulham. And I think there's good reason to think that they might struggle. I think I looked at the total value of the squad of West Bromwich Albion, which was under 70 million. And you compare that to the Manchester City's, which is 934 million. There is a bit of a difference in the quality, obviously.
Yes.
But do they survive? Have they got enough to survive? I would be surprised.
Last season, I mentioned Newcastle as one of the teams to go down, and as Newcastle continue to perform, I got a lot of slack on social media for putting Newcastle as one of my teams to go down. But with Steve Bruce at the helm, you just never know.
He's managed to at least get the chairman to spend a bit of cash.
Spend money now, which is surprising, because they had Rafa Benitez at the helm, one of the best managers, in this generation, and they refused to back him with funds. So, for me, I think Fulham and West Brom are overwhelming favorites to go down. But I'll be caught between 2 teams, West Ham and Brighton. And this is because if West Ham can't get Sebastian Haller firing and scoring goals, and they depend on Mikel Antonio again, then they're on their way down. There's absolutely no way they're going to survive. Brighton, for me, are like a Norwich, but they got away with a lot of things because they had decent defenders in Lewis Dunk, Shane Duffy, and what have you. So they were able to ride the tide. But the Premier League is a very unforgiving league that you might survive 1 season, 2 seasons, that the next season comes along, it becomes too late for you to get away with it. So I'm looking at West Brom, Fulham. I will be glad if they surprise me and make me eat my words. And then Brighton and West Ham are the other ones that I'm looking to go. I think Southampton would do a lot better this year. Southampton has signed a certain defender that I followed very well in La Liga, Salisu. I think it was a very good defender, probably one of the best centre-backs in La Liga last season. And I think he will do very well in the Premier League.
Tell me, who's going to score the goals then? I mean, I know that he's had the person loosened a bit. Who's going to score the goals for Newcastle this season? I mean,
Okay.
Joe Linton was, for the money that he cost, I mean, that was not a great return. 2 goals in 38
2 goals and 2
appearances.
assists.
But the thing is, why were so many people overly surprised that he didn't have a great season, regardless of the transfer fee? He has never been a prolific goal scorer. He wasn't a prolific goal scorer when he was at Hoffenheim.
No.
And he wasn't a prolific goal scorer when he was at Rapid in Austria. So he's come to a league which is significantly more unforgiving and much more difficult to play and succeed in, and he scored less goals. So not a surprise for me. And their top scorer last season was John Joe Shelby. I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah.
Who got 6 goals. I might actually be wrong there. I don't think I am.
5 goals.
But I think he ended up as their top scorer, John Joe Shelby. And he had the best, I think it was equal or the best goal scoring season he'd ever had. Only scored 2 goals in the previous 2 seasons and ended up scoring 3 times that amount in one campaign. Had a good October, November of last year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, where are those goals coming from? You looked at the other players that they've bought in. I don't think it's enough. I mean, Callum Wilson managed 8 goals for Bournemouth last year.
Yeah, but
in a team that was struggling.
Callum Wilson had his injury problems last season.
Yeah. But he still played 35 games.
Yeah.
Did a lot last season, so just maybe the goals have dried up.
But I do think that with him up front and Jojo Shelby and some of the good work that Matt Ritchie does, if he stays, because I understand he's been linked. Bournemouth are trying to bring him back. I think they signed Ryan Fraser as well. With those guys and the quality of ammunition that they will give him, I think he would do 10 goals this season, Colin Wilson, if he stays fit. And that's why I'm a little bit, lenient with Newcastle this season. I could be wrong, but that's why I'm a little bit lenient with Newcastle. I'm not looking at them closely with respect to relegation. So since we covered relegation, and unfortunately Fulham and West Ham seem to be the guys who are overwhelming choice to go down. Now let's look at the European places. Last season, you had Arsenal sneaking into, it's quite ironic saying Arsenal sneaking into a European place. Wolves and Sheffield United at some point seemed like they could get into the Champions League positions. And then Leicester lost out of the Champions League spot on the last day. Can we expect these 4 teams I've mentioned, and particularly Arsenal, because of the brand name, how big, because out of the 4 teams I mentioned, they had a big team. Of course, then the Spurs. Can we expect these 5 teams I've mentioned to still be in that equation? See.
What Champions League contention? No, not a.
No, I'm not even looking at Champions League. I'm saying that Europa League.
To be able to fight,
Oh yeah, because I think as we said, I think you can pick the teams that are going to be finishing in the top 8, 9, without a lot of problem. Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, United, Leicester, Spurs, Wolves, Arsenal, Everton. I mean, what order they're going to be in. If I knew that, I wouldn't be sat here talking to you, would I? I'd be on a beach with my boat home. But no, I mean, I think they upset some of the top teams. Maybe pinch a point or a win, maybe out of the others. I mean, you look at. Ultimately, you're looking at who's going to win the Premier League this year, aren't you? Liverpool have got a big job on. They're playing with the same players now that they've had for the last few seasons. They've scaled enormous heights with Klopp, with the Premier League and the Champions League. keeping a group motivated and continuing to succeed is very difficult. If anybody can do it, it's Klopp. I love Jurgen Klopp. You know, I was doing a lot of Bundesliga when he just arrived at Borussia Dortmund. You can't fail to love the spirit that he brings the game. If you're a fan of football, a football fan in general, then you're a fan of the way his teams play football, regardless of who they are. I think it's going to be more difficult this season for Liverpool, obviously. I think Manchester City, rather, you know, Pep Guardiola will be smarting significantly, from the issues they had in the Champions League. He will want to get that Premier League won again this year. But, you know, this is the thing that makes this league such a great competition this year. You know, you can't, unlike Germany, unlike France, to a degree, and I know a lot of people will probably disagree, Spain, you know, because you know who's going to win in Germany. You know Bayern Munich are going to win the Bundesliga title. You know that Borussia Dortmund will push them. They'll have a good start or they'll have a good midway point, but you know that they will fall off in the end. In France, there is only one winner. Everybody will expect Juventus to scale Serie A again, regardless of the money that has been invested by the others around them. And you know that Real Madrid, you know, with all the problems that Barcelona are having, are they going to take advantage and have a consistent season this season? Are they going to win back-to-back titles? In all of those leagues, you aren't having the number of teams that you are in the Premier League that could win. Chelsea could win it. Manchester City could win it. Liverpool could win it. I don't think maybe Manchester. I think Manchester United is not yet for me. And I don't think Tottenham. I think Tottenham, if they finish in the top five, are doing well.
But Tim, why you say that? A lot of people will probably disagree with you on the basis of the gap, the points gap that existed last season between Liverpool, City, and the rest. Some will disagree with you that the league is that competitive because, hey, the way Liverpool won the league last season was at the counter and they were
no, I think you're right. But I'm not talking about last season. I'm talking about this season because, you know, Chelsea, with how they've spent and what they have bought. I mean, you know, make no mistake, that is a world-class squad.
Yeah.
The issue, the big issue is the pressure that comes with it to perform, to deliver, to get results. You know, I mean, Abbott has got a lot of pressure on his shoulder, but having watched him over the last few years, he's coped with absolutely everything. He's been an outstanding player, absolutely outstanding player with Leverkusen. You know, what is it? He's got averaging just under a goal every 3 games from midfield. Spectacular. Will he get as much time and space in the areas that he plays to score as many goals? No. The one that I would worry about more out of all of those players they bought is Timo Werner. And he was amazing, you know, last season. But I think, you know, being a marked man as he's going to be, I think he will be the one out of the players that they've bought who finds the transition into that league perhaps, you know, the most difficult.
Theo, do you agree with that?
To some degree, yes, because at least in terms of the positions of the other attacking talents that they brought in, he's the man that will be the focus of all the defenders. And of course, with the record he had coming from Bundesliga last season, everybody wants to stop Timo Werner. If you play in Chelsea, he's the man you have to look at first and foremost. And that, of course, means that the level expected of him is higher, or rather the benchmark for him now to challenge is a lot higher. So with that in place, it will be a lot tougher for him. But I think if there's a man who can also beat those challenges, is also Werner. He's used to the big time. We saw his run to the semi-finals last season. Or rather, he wasn't there, of course, for their eventual knockout stages, but he contributed a lot to their pushing Bayern early on in the season before they faltered through before the lockdown. He's, of course, the number one man in the attacking positions for Germany in the national team, and that's one of the best national teams around, and the top challenger for Euros that is coming up. So he's used to pressure, and I'm not sure he will have a lot of problems adapting to that level of pressure in the Premier League. He should be able to get enough goals to keep Chelsea's Champions League position hunt firmly intact for most of the season, I would think.
Okay, let me put you guys on the spot now. We've spoken about the guys to go down, right? Who wins the Premier League? Tim.
Why do I get to answer first?
Probably because you're the most
I think you need to look at the squads of all of these teams. Yeah, Liverpool won the title, like you said, last season. Manchester City still outscored everybody, didn't they? 102 goals.
Yeah.
They outscored Liverpool. Yeah. Their defense was only marginally worse than Liverpool. 35 goals conceded to 33 for Liverpool. So I think when you look at the size of the squad, the quality of the squad, if Aguero stays fit, I would lean toward Manchester City. That's for me. I would lean towards Manchester City. I think, you know, if we talked about Liverpool and the fact that they're, you know, Jurgen Klopp has been talking about the fact that they're not Chelsea. You know, you have to have, you know, there is more fiscal prudence around the place these days. It's not a question of just blowing money. Liverpool can't compete with that. He's made a point of saying that. But you know, as long as, you know, they can keep their key players, you know, the likes of, you know, Sadio Mane and Firmino, Mo Salah, obviously. I'd like to see the emergence of one player, a guy we saw a few years ago playing for the England youth team, and a guy who was on loan at Swansea City, Ryan Brewster. It'd be great. He's 20 years of age. You know, it isn't young these days. It would be great to see some of these guys given a chance. You know. They had a couple, didn't they? There was Solanke, who was another one who it never really worked for him. But Brewster looks a good player. You know, I know that they're talking about whether or not he goes. Same situation with Wijnaldum as well. But Liverpool, I saw a couple of Liverpool's games in the Youth Champions League. They got some great players in that Youth Champions League. I mean, I know they're very young. Harvey Elliott was one. Curtis Jones was another. Mind you, he's 19 now, Curtis Jones. But, I mean, they looked like they had some serious potential. But it's going to be difficult, you know, for Klopp to keep his team up there. And, you know, so it is, I think, between those three, you know, Chelsea, Manchester City, Liverpool. I don't see Manchester United doing it.
I agree with you. I don't see Manchester United competing this season. I think the top four finish is what United will aim for, and that's what I think they should be able to get. I probably agree with you that City are the team to watch out for and probably win because, hey, Guardiola needs to give us a reaction. And I worry about Liverpool's lack of investment in the team. The hardest thing about being at the top is staying there. And they are now a marked team. You can't rule out fatigue for the front three. They're very reliant on those three. And I think Klopp is being a bit hypocritical with his comments on teams spending money when he had a revamp of his defense and the goalkeeping position. Tio, who wins the Premier League?
Well, it's straightforward for me. I don't think it's that many teams that can compete, as Tim suggested earlier in the show. That there are really not many that can aim for as high as the Premier League. And I think it's firmly between City and Liverpool. I'll be overly shocked if there's any other name that eventually comes up as winner of the Premier League this season that is not a City first. or a Liverpool at worst. And that's, I think, is the level of gap between the other sides. Of course, the other guys have invested a lot. They have improved. Spurs, Chelsea, Man U, of course, will attempt to follow up from their very good run for the second half of last season and all of that. But I think none of those is enough to get to the quality that is City. They scored 102 goals, as you already mentioned. And I think that's something that we expect them to be able to replicate. Aguero staying there, or rather staying fit, will mean that is even easier to replicate for them. So with that alone, and trying to sort some of the defensive issues that we know we are a bit too evident in their failure to replace a massive figure like Company last season. I still understand that they are negotiating through a top party for Koulibaly. I do hope that transfer happens for them, because that will sort out a lot of things for them in the defense in terms of personality there at the back. I think they need one. I'm not sure it's Fernandinho's best position, as Pep himself tries to suggest in a lot of the interviews. If that transfer happens, Koulibaly to City, I think it will make it a lot easier for them to handle a lot of the pressure they faced, particularly when teams counter them. But when they are attacking, I think they're one of the best in Europe. They will score a lot of goals again this season. They have enough quality to deal with injuries that may come up, as we have seen in a lot of seasons now. I think was it 2 seasons ago that they won without De Bruyne being available for more than 70% plus of the season. So that kind of team that can afford that. That's not the case for Liverpool. As you already mentioned, they rely on those front three more than anyone else. And that's part of what I believe needs to change. Not just the front three. Last season, it was the fullbacks who brought in a lot of the creativity. Not a lot came from the central midfielders. Of course, the roles were a lot as advised, or rather engineered, by the coaching team, who wanted them to be the hard workers, protecting the team, and then allowing the fullbacks all the space. I think also that's something the other coaches will attempt to counter a lot this year. So they need a lot more activity down the middle, and they will be hoping, or I will be hoping, I see a better Navigator, who I believe is a really quality player. I saw him a lot at Leipzig while in Germany. Unfortunately, both injuries and form and all of that have made it impossible for him to be consistent enough in the Premier League. They need him to at least play at his level back in the days at Leipzig, or possibly getting an Thiago Alcantara if all the rumors we are hearing about some negotiations are true. They need something like that, so that some creativity will be contributed through the middle. I think that's a minimum requirement for Liverpool to be able to keep up with a City. If they have to rely on Trent and Robertson to do it again, of course, these are quality players, but I really believe the other coaches will attempt to hurt them more if they keep pushing as high up the pitch as they did for most of last season. So overwhelmingly, City that is favourite for me, and if anybody stops them, it will be Liverpool. I don't think any other one is close enough to take any chances if these two falter.
Thiago Alcantara is a really interesting conversation. Yeah, he was the first player that Pep Guardiola signed when he took over at Bayern Munich. It was the first name on a bit of paper. It was, go and get me this guy. And if you've watched and you've followed his progress and his career, you can see why he was a Pep Guardiola player. Extremely intelligent player on the ball, Thiago, and very, very consistent. Remember, they'd lost as well the likes of Toni Kroos, going off to Real Madrid, and they needed somebody that could put their foot on the ball in the middle of the field, see a pass, make a pass, and around the edge of the penalty area, slipping these little balls through whoever it was, for Lewandowski or the wide players. He's a real class player. I think he would be a great buy for anybody in the Premier League. He isn't young anymore. He's 29, but the position that he plays, he's such an intelligent player, and I think he would suit Jurgen Klopp down to the ground, actually, if they were going to sign him. And if you're getting him for, what is it, 25 million pounds, I think these days that's money really, really well spent. On that Manchester United issue, they've been linked with pretty much every player that has come up for sale. Every player has been an interest to Manchester United. And obviously they are, global titans, one of the, the biggest footballing brands. So they're always going to be linked to these players. But so far, they've bought Donny van de Beek. And, you're looking at that and you're thinking, did they really want him? I mean, I know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has come out and said, "I've been following Donny van der Beek for years." If he was, then why didn't he try and buy him a year ago? In March of this year, prior to the lockdown, the deal was all but done for him to go to Madrid. There wasn't any conversation of him going anywhere else. You're seeing some of these players go, and the big money. You just wonder whether it was, we've got to buy somebody. Donny van der Beek's about it. Let's get Donny van der Beek. And how does he fit? You're going to have him playing in the same midfield as Pogba and Bruno Fernandes. I mean, where does he play? What position is he going to be playing? I mean, obviously, I'm sure they know where he's going to be playing, but you think Bruno's had such a good start to his career with United, but Van der Beek, is still only 23 years old. He's a young player. He's an experienced player, certainly in terms of winning championships and trophies with Ajax, and he's performed on the big stage in Champions League. Is he the player that Manchester United needed to go out and buy if they were only going to buy one player? No. Is that the one that you would have gone out and bought?
No. I agree with you, but I think he caters to certain aspects of what the team tries to do, especially when they play certain teams. But like you said, if he was the one player United wanted to sign at the start of the window, I'm not sure it's that one. But then we just have to wait and see. You talked
about Koulibaly, by the way. What a great buy he'd be. And also, I think the other player that is who's been on the radar of just about everybody is Upamecano.
Yeah.
We thought was on his way out of RB Leipzig. Then he signed an extension to his contract. Nobody came in. Again, they were Madrid were interested amongst other Madrid interested in everybody. It's a bit like Manchester United. But he is another player that you think would thrive. Yeah. What a cool looking defender he is.
On the ball, strong, physical. Yeah, good presence.
But he's an intelligent player. You see some of when he carries the ball out of the defense. He's not afraid to carry the ball over the halfway line, and the quality of his passing is also very good. It's not only obviously he's a powerful defender, but he's got a great footballing brain.
Exactly, I agree with that. As we're trying to round up very quickly, we have Tio, your top four. Just mention your top four. Liverpool, Man City, Liverpool.
Top four. Okay, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and then Manchester United.
Okay, Tim, top four.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's easy, isn't it? I mean, I could say the same thing, but just for argument's sake, and not because I particularly believe it's going to happen. Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Tottenham. I know you're a big Spurs fan, and you haven't mentioned them.
I'm a Manchester United fan, and I would love United to finish in the top four, at least for now. Okay, so we know it. So my top four is almost similar to what Chelsea. I think City will win the league. Yeah, everybody knows I don't like Liverpool, but I think City will win the league. Liverpool will finish second, Chelsea third, because like Tim said, there's still a lot of work to do merging all those qualities together. And I think United should be good enough to finish fourth. So let me quickly take some of the comments that we have, and then I'll be asking both of you to tell me who your top scorer will be and who you think will be the player of the season. Okay, I
got a question for you. You need to answer this question. Who do you think? do you think that the top six will have the same manager in situ at the end of this season that they have at the start?
That's a good one.
Who is the coach that is under the biggest pressure to deliver?
That's a very simple question. The coach with the biggest pressure to deliver is Frank Lampard. You can spend over £200 million and not be under immense pressure. It is if things don't kick off well, Roman doesn't waste time. He'll be on
But
his way out.
what about Jose Mourinho?
Now, the funny thing about that one is also we know that Olivi doesn't, it's no slouch. So Jose also will be under a lot of pressure because we can't say for a fact that Spurs have actually backed him in the market because of the kind of players he goes for, but they kind of addressed certain needs that he has.
Specific
I
needs
think
of the team. That's what I like about their transfer personally, is that he has addressed the specific needs. We will see a really improved sport, and I won't be shocked if they push very hard for that fourth spot.
Team has said they'll finish fourth, so I'll hold him to that, and I'm probably going to go to Bet365 later today.
But tell me, what would you do? What would you do with Ndombele?
I'll give him another chance. He's a player that I think is immensely talented and just needs, a arm around his shoulder, encouragement. Yes, he earns a lot of money. A lot of people feel for the amount of money in the end, they don't deserve all that. But I think he's a player that is immensely talented and deserves another crack at the whip. He needs to give him another chance. I think he will come good this second season if he's given a good run in the team.
Interesting, because it's clear that it's clear that the coach maybe doesn't he doesn't actually fit in his style, his methodology, if you like, of playing the game. But there is no doubt he had a pretty decent start to his campaign in the early weeks of the season. I remember the goal that he scored back last September against Southampton was a great goal. But you're right. I think he needs to be in the team and staying in the team, and they need to be doing a bit of building the team maybe around him. There continues to be this question mark over the level of his fitness. Is he as fit as he should be?
Well, a lot also depends on what the team around him is doing. So that means they need to work on him specifically to get him to that fitness level that they want to. But it's another thing for the player to also realize that this program is for my own good. I need to work, along this line. So, but if it's talent-wise, I think he's a really good player. I've loved him from the time I was at Lyon. I really wanted United to sign him at the point, but hey, for the amount of money he came for to Spurs, he should be doing better. I think he deserves another chance. So, team, because we've gone beyond time, let me quickly take comments before people come for me. Bucci AK says, I think Leeds with Bielsa will push into the top 8. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Oga Priya says, good afternoon, guys. Everton has done well, but what does this portend for Iwobi? Well, Iwobi has to fight for his place if he's not sent out on loan somewhere. Fulham, Villa, West Brom to go down for me. That's Oga Priya. Adegun J.O. Shola says that similar thoughts on Werner. He's agreeing with you, team. Also, from a tactical perspective, he hasn't actually been a pure number 9. I think I agree with that. We have another comment that says City will win the EPL. Trust Pep to come back on a high. Olaleye Peter says Man City can win the league once again. Ambassador, they call me ambassador on one show. Ambassador, what formation will only play this season? This buying attacker, but no cover for the defense. Don't worry, Ole will find a way. That's why he earns the money that he earns. Adebola Taiwo, I think we will have a new champion this season. Interesting. New champion. Are you saying someone like Leeds will go ahead to win the Premier League? Donny truly would seem to be surplus to our United.
Medical attention.
I'm just saying. Because my information this season will be 2-5-3 because they're buying only attackers and their defense is horrible. Well, Victor, a friend of mine, look for SP, says a quick question goes to Team Tioyemi. Is Jadon really needed at the United side? So, Tim, I'll come to you for that one. My top four, in no order, will be Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Chelsea. So, Arsenal makes an appearance finally. Lampard, big pressure to deliver. Please, guys, who are your candidates for relegation? I want to hear Tio's opinion. Tio has said Fulham, West Brom, and who did you mention? Brighton, right? Brighton. Mitch Madrogu says Jose will be all right if Spurs stay in the mix throughout the season. I think I agree with that. And then finally, we have Liverpool will win it again. Tim, the question for you was: is Jadon Sancho really needed at United?
Do United need him? But is he a United player? Yeah, of course he is. You know, he is a glamorous addition to wherever he's going to be. You know, I mean, I think he suits everything that Manchester United are and stand for. Is he a great player? Yeah, of course he's a great player. I mean, you've only got to look at what he has achieved in a relatively short space of time. And again, we saw this guy in the youth teams with England, and you saw what they were capable of. And like a number of these players now going over to Germany to take up significant opportunities with big clubs in a league where they've got great infrastructure. All right, Bayern Munich might win the league every year, but you don't need to worry about that. But you just look at who he's playing alongside. Erling Haaland at Borussia Dortmund, sorry. But Jadon Sancho is 20 years of age. Yeah, he scored 30 goals in 78 games for Borussia Dortmund. I mean, it's a staggering achievement for a player that had never played, didn't play a league game with Manchester City. Nothing. I mean, he's just been incredible. If you're a fan, just a football fan, not a particular Dortmund fan or United fan, these are the type of players that you pay to see. He didn't particularly excel in the recent internationals, by the way. That was more due to the quality of the midfield that England had. But yeah, you want to see these players play for the top clubs, and you want to see them in the biggest games on the grandest of stages, the biggest European nights. And I think Jadon Sancho will have a fantastic year in Borussia Dortmund because he's going to be staying there. They've already said that. And he is only 20. And wherever he goes, I think he's got a fabulous career ahead.
Okay. Now, somebody has accused me that I'm already making excuses for Mourinho. And I think I need to make it clear. What I said is that they probably haven't gotten the kind of signings that he would like to get, which is the glamorous signings. We know Jose, anywhere he goes, he wants to make those glamorous. However, he has been able to address the needs of the team by virtue of the players that he's been able to sign. So he's been able to have a walk around. That is what I said. So please, let's be clear. So Tio, your player of the year and top scorer as we go.
Top scorer. Something tells me he's going to be Sterling, but...
Oh, well, he had 30 goals in all competitions last season.
He's going to have a big season. He got the chances to score a lot more than the 30 he scored last season and missed them. I'm sure he will try to finish a lot better. He can, and he will. I think he will be massive this season for City.
If Sterling finishes as top scorer, it will vindicate me for putting him in my team of the season last season. Player of the season for you, too.
Same Sterling. I believe he will be the top scorer, and of course, and if City wins the league with that, that will automatically, probably, or rather not automatically, but probably help him towards being the player of the season too in the Premier League.
All right. Team, player of the season and top scorer.
Player of the season. I mean, there's so many. It could be anybody. Players that have arrived in the league that you maybe haven't seen anything of, but you think that they could do something? I've always watched who Nuno has picked up over at Wolves, and in particular, the young Porto player Fabio Silva. He is only 18 years of age. You know, I mean, he isn't going to be the league's top scorer, but if you saw him, he played in a couple of youth internationals that got a bit of airtime, and you might have seen the goals. You know, he looks like, you know, he could do something in time. Obviously, not next season because he's not young enough. But yeah, Nuno's been a great servant, great coach for Wolves. I hope he signs an extension to his contract and he stays with Wolves because they play brilliant football. Last season, they were a joy to watch, and you know, it would benefit the league if he stays. Who's going to be the top scorer? Is it going to be Sterling? No, I think I'm going to stay with the established. I think if Harry Kane is fit, then Harry Kane is going to score goals, and I think Kane will get over 20-odd goals in Premier League this season. So he's the man for me.
All right, for me, I think top scorer would be Aubameyang. He will be top scorer, Aubameyang. And player of the year would be Kevin De Bruyne again if City win the title. So as we round up, one more comment. Actually, what do you think of Partey? What do you think Partey will bring to the table if Arsenal sign him? Because I would prefer they sign Ndidi. Oh, well, from a Nigerian perspective, and everybody knows how I like Wilfred Ndidi. I would love Arsenal to sign Wilfred Ndidi because I do think he's the kind of player they need. But then, if they want a much more luxurious signing, I think Partey is the more luxurious because I think he has that little bit extra of an edge in terms of creativity ahead of Ndidi. So
his overall play, I think, is really superior to Ndidi's. Ndidi is just sometimes a shield in front of the defense. Of course, that's a huge quality, something Arsenal also needs. But then Partey is a lot more than that. And if Arsenal can manage to land him, then the team takes that huge jump in quality, particularly in the midfield.
So that's been our show today. I have to say big thank you to Team Capel for joining us. Team, thank you very much. Thank you
My
for
pleasure.
always answering my call, even though I know I can be a bit of a pain in the behind with my incessant messages. But thank you for never saying no.
It's been a pleasure. You know what the big disappointment for us this is the fact that we have no AFCON. No AFCON.
You know, see, CAF are still trying to finish the CAF Confederations Cup and the CAF Champions League for last season. So AFCON can wait. But I think it will be to Africa's advantage as the AFCON has been moved to 2022. You play that in January, play the World Cup in November. I think it's to Africa's advantage.
Some preparatory game towards the World Cup. It might count for something in terms of preparation.
Do you think it was a good idea to move it a year?
Yeah, I think so. With what is going on, Africa, you see, Africa, we're not at the level Europe is that you can look away and decide to go on, things go on normally. Even though, yes, the numbers are not as bad as they are in Europe or America, but we still, infrastructurally and all that, we're still suffering. So we can't. So I think it's best they move because even Cameroon, they're going to host. How ready were they to, So it's going to cost CAF a lot of money. They're going to lose money. But hey, I think
you
it was
don't
best.
think they could have? I mean, I know they got we had this with the conditions, the weather conditions, the playing conditions in Egypt when they played in the summer. Not possible to do that with Cameroon. Move it to maybe to June at the same time.
Remember, we had that conversation on your show, on your preview. I'm for the AFCON being January, February. July thing.
Because if you look, I don't know whether they've moved it. So they've moved the AFCON to 2022. You've got the World Cup, and then you've got AFCON in 2023 in Ivory Coast or Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
That's a lot of international football.
To our benefit, because because in Nigeria, if we don't have international competitions, our football association can't make money.
Yeah.
That's how we're
this
structured in
is.
Africa. So.
I know we've spoken about this before, but this is a big shame for me because a few years ago I did work with an African channel, and we worked on. We used to do football from Ghana. There was football from Egypt. So it was basically from around Africa. It is a shame that the focus of football fans, it seems, judging from these programs, is in Africa. Is the focus is on Europe from the fans, as opposed to making the leagues that they have great, because we used to do some good games from Ghana and from Egypt. We didn't do for some reason we didn't do Nigeria, but we also did Tunisia.
Don't worry. because Nigeria, your team, no, let's have this conversation where we go off live, because you just want to get me to the zone.
I know how you like the politics.
you know. Tio, thank you as always for joining in.
Thank you, Yemi.
Tomorrow or Saturday for our other shows. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Somebody says AFCON, ? We are looking for the trophy. No, it's Egypt that is looking for the trophy. It's the one that they won for Cape, not the other AFCON trophy. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. It's been a real pleasure. Tomorrow at 1 p.m., I'll have a panel with Wale Agbede, Joseph Bassi, Femi Aliu, talking La Liga, previewing the new La Liga season. And also, I have another program at 4 o'clock, so join us live. It's called Football and AI, where to be man versus machine, making predictions on the Premier League games coming up over the weekend. So stay tuned. I'm here for you. So just trying to push out as much content as possible. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Have a lovely, lovely evening.